guys, I'm sitting in the man cave today and going to answer some questions about what it's like to have an antique booth. And so first I'll tell you a little bit about how we got started.
Welcome to Jack and Mary Jane's. We're just a couple of young Carolina pickers sharing our adventures and living for the next great pick.
So to be honest, I didn't actually choose to be an antique dealer. I had just been soul searching for ways to return to my former self after having our first child, and I just didn't feel like myself, and I was struggling. And you know, John was a golfer before we had kids, and he's still a golfer now, but for me it just felt different. I felt like a different person, and I wanted something that was a representation of me but wasn't work and wasn't motherhood. And so John surprised me with a booth at the antique mall nearby. It actually wasn't the best antique mall, but you don't just get to walk in and with no experience and just say, I want an antique booth, and they give you the best one, right? And so we cut our teeth on that a little bit. We sold things that were primarily junk, but we were making money, and wasn't that great of money, but it was exciting. It gave me that sense of purpose. Fast forward to now, we have been at the depot for, I want to say 3 or 4 years. I'll have to check that. But we love it and we totally recommend it. Now let me just preface this for you. I am not the cutest antique booth in the mall, okay? There's over 750 vendors, so when I say there's a lot of competition, your stuff has to be good, okay? So I'm gonna take you over there with me right now, and I have a few other errands, so things might pop in my head and I'll just share them with you as my day goes on. The first question I got asked is, how often do I come to the booth? Well, actually, I try to come every Wednesday because my mother-in-law comes into town and watches my kids, and so I get to come here in peace and not have to worry about anything possibly getting broken, because sometimes I do bring them with me and it's like, you know, one of those death threat moments. Don't touch anything. So today I have a small pile. I'm just taking in a bunch of classic rock records. We sell anywhere from 2 to 7 records a day at the depot, and our classic rock ones do the best. Last month we actually sold 41 records, and I believe it was like $1,100 worth, which comes out to about like $20 a record. So that's pretty awesome. We've created a little record section in our booth, and I'll show you that. Let's go inside. The goal was never really to do anything with this. It was more just a little side hobby, fun thing. Okay, so the last question I'm gonna answer while I'm here is, how big is our booth? Our booth is approximately 15 by 5 feet. What is our booth style? Well, we first started loving mid-century, but we've evolved into just anything eclectic and unusual and authentic. We love authentic vintage. That honestly means that you could see primitive in our booth one week and mid-century the next, because we try to turn and burn. Because we don't paint anything or make anything, a lot of times our small, rare, valuable items go to our eBay store, and anything that we think is more of a broader audience goes in our booth. and we try to find things that we haven't seen before. We try to sell things we haven't sold before, and it just makes it more fun for us, but also keeps you coming back to our booth knowing that you're going to see something new every time you visit. Do I decorate for the seasons? Sometimes I'll put more, definitely yes for Christmas. I just had a thought too about the size of our booth. We do have one of the smaller booths in the depot, and we're on a corner, so you have to like get out of the way if someone is also coming the other direction. It gives us a great opportunity to have people stop and, you know, kind of stop waiting for the other person to pass, and so they can kind of just look through some things, right? And so that's why we've got the records. What is that fuzz? Sorry. That's why we have the records. That's why we have the old photos. It's just little onesies and twosies that help make people stop and reminisce. Like when I was getting out of the way earlier, a guy he goes, "Oh, Van Halen, a Van Halen record." And, you know, that's what does it for us. We enjoy the memories we create buying the things, going on the pics, and experiencing the people and hearing the stories. But we also love to recreate that for you in the booth, and we want you to have a good deal. So our prices are competitive. We like to see things move out of the booth so we can put more in, because that's why we do it. It's fun. And like when we started, we really didn't have $5 to put into it. So it just really started with junk, and it really built itself up to better quality items. And then we just use that profit to put back into buying more merchandise. This past year, we've really used a lot of the profits to renovate our home. And so that's a blessing for us. And, you know, if you enjoy the item and it's a blessing to you to find it, hey, it's a win-win for us. We've been asked if we would expand and do bigger booths, and we used to have 2 booths. And so a lot of times an antique booth is basically a square rectangle, and really you're paying for people to loop in your booth. And so you got to create that flow, as well as paying for real estate that you can't put items in because you need room for people's cart to move through. So being on the corner lot for us is kind of like the Chip and JoJo saying of they buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. We kind of have one of the smallest booths in the best antique mall, and it bodes well for us. How much money do you make? Well, it varies. So you have booth rent, and then you usually have 10% of that taken out before you get your check from an antique booth. Now, it's really smart to have income from various places. So sometimes we'll sell like the stuff that's not selling our booth, we'll sell on Facebook Marketplace for low to moderate pricing. And then, you know, we have the eBay store as well, and I'll sell stuff from our Instagram sales. So a lot of times we have multiple revenue streams, which seems to help, but the antique booth is pretty consistent. Like for January, we made $15.90, and between booth rent and sourcing, we spent about $300. So profits margins were really high in January. We sold a lot of records, like I said, like 41 records that made up majority of that. And then we also sold a piece. We kind of undersold it because we sold it to a friend. She saw it, was like, I really want that. I was like, well, I'll give you a friend deal, right? But we sold one piece of furniture. Happy she's happy with it. We don't sell a lot of big pieces, and I feel like that's why we focus on the smalls. We try not to sell smalls that are under $35, $40. We try to sell everything like $50 to $75 small price range small. If I could take a second to give one piece of advice that I wish someone would have really told me to stick to when I was starting out, it's don't sell things that you're still in love with. Wait till you're ready to break up with them and then sell them. John and I still talk about this green painted wooden double oar. It was 110 inches long. So cool. Would have been awesome on like a really long wall. And we sold it. It sold like the next day or day of that we put it in there. So we felt like we underpriced it, and we've not been able to find another one, and we're so sad about it. Things in your booth that you can part with. That's a better way
Thank
to say
you guys so much for your interest in our antique booth and your questions. I hope that I answered everything. If you have more questions, I would be happy to do a part 2. Just leave us a comment below.